Yeah, legitimate. Am I legitimate? What is legitimate? What is that? Back in there somewhere. I know it wasn't legal for me to be alive and legitimate, illegitimate. What's that idea? What is that? I just think about the rejection, the condescension, and from family that is pretty closely related. Not the immediate family, but I think about you know my aunt that is living. Giving me an open invitation to visit, and I don't like driving south, and I also don't like verbal abuse. So, yeah, I mean, even if she's nice for a while, it doesn't stay that way, and so much harm has been done. I mean, what she said about my stepbrother, and it's not okay. I don't know when people do those things if they really understand how much harm they're doing, or they don't care. They think that it's okay for them to do that because they are who they are, and what is that? So I was sitting and have tried over the past few years to communicate with the first cousin that is close to me in age, because as a teenager I felt like she was one of my best friends for a while, but I think that was must never have been true for her. But I think cousins can also be best friends, and I don't know what I did. I mean, I don't think it's that. I think it is who I am. Uh, and she might not even know why it's like that for her. Um, and I think about these things that go over generations, and it's I think about when there's competition that goes from one generation to the next, and these attitudes, and people just don't. I think that people don't know better than to not have those attitudes. Don't know better than to not eventually feel remorse for the attitudes and the impact of the attitudes. But I was thinking about the story I happened. Dad used to describe this sort of anecdote of, yeah, the two of you would be standing around in your diapers, and you would touch her and she would scratch you, and you would touch her and she would scratch you. And I just think maybe that's what it's like. I don't, can I say that I understand that? I don't. But that, it reminds me of the verbal abuse. And I've even been told something that, you know, our great grandmother on dad's mother's side said to her about, a daughter in law. And it's like, that's really not necessary. It's one thing to be feisty, it's one thing to defend yourself, it's one thing, you know, to use words in ways that are clever sometimes, but harmful descriptions of people. I mean, it just keeps going. And how do you stop it? How do you put an end to it once and for all without harm to yourself? That is really important because it can be that harmful. I just find it amazing. And I don't think there's something I was supposed to learn. So, I was supposed to go through marital abandonment, you know, my husband leaving me so that I could see all this and have this participant observer experience. It's not that at all. I mean, it's, and I'm certainly not going to think about it that way. But I guess what I see is just how tiny people's hearts are, how hard people's hearts are. A tiny little chicken heart, frozen. Could I say that? Frozen little chicken hearts. Um, I know. I know. I think about words people use and staying in this place where there are words that don't have very much depth. And old songs and things like that that might have had a meaning, and the meaning is completely lost. And maybe sometimes the spirit that things are said in just isn't nice. And um, sometimes those songs are history. They're about history. They're stories from something that happened and things like that. But what I'm thinking of is really not Appalachian. It's, I don't know what it is. Yeah, those songs. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, I think it can be said that I've begged. I think it can be said that I've begged to be accepted in what could be described as my own family. I've begged for acceptance. I've begged to be liked, and it hasn't happened. And I have to know it isn't going to happen. And so what do I do? How do I protect myself from further harm? Because it's harmful. How do I protect myself from further harm? I guess I think about, yeah, one of the things that I can do is just think, you know, mom grew up in East Point. Yeah, she was from the other side of the tracks. And that does give me strength. I don't think in terms of shame. And yeah, I think some of them, I mean, that's not a good way to think. That's not a good way to exist in the world. Not doing something because you feel I mean, where does that come from? But yeah, so different socioeconomically, this is something to think about. Families where there are socioeconomics are different could be among siblings, but and among generations, and it's like, yeah, but we're related, but we're cousins, and I think about times when there are reunions and things like that, and people are excluded. I mean, I find it hard to. It's like, and I'm not. I don't want to ask what did I do, because it isn't about that. It's about what am I not, or what am I too much of, and yeah, words can do an immense amount of harm. Abuse is not only physical. Uh, Attitudes are learned pretty often, and when a person has attitudes, I mean, when a person has attitudes that they don't want to let go of, then let go of that person.